Hello, welcome to Minor Murderers, Children Who Kill. I'm your host, Tracey Perger. In this episode, I'm going to present background information on the topic of underage killers. Throughout this episode, I will use the word adolescent to refer to anyone under the age of 25, and juvenile or teen to refer to anyone under the age of 18. As recently as 2013, developments in the field of child psychology have discovered that the prefrontal cortex of the human brain is not fully developed until a person is in his mid-20s. They have since determined that there are 3 stages of adolescence where there used to be only 2. Early adolescence, ages 12 through 14, and adolescence, which is now called middle adolescence, ages 15 through 17. They have now added late adolescence, covering the ages of 18 through 25. We now know that cognitive development, emotional maturity, self-image, and judgment are all developed in the final stage of adolescence. The last part of the brain to develop is the frontal lobe, which houses impulse control, judgment, planning, and comprehension of long-term effects or consequences of actions. Prior to the development of the prefrontal lobe, a person is driven by emotion regardless of their level of intelligence. When a teenager says or acts like whatever's going on in his life is the end of the world, they are not just being dramatic. To them, it is the end of the world because they have no comprehension of the future. They have knowledge of a future. They know there's college, a career, and adulthood ahead. They cannot grasp the fact that what is happening today may or may not affect the future. For this reason, they have a hard time making lifelong decisions, like what to major in college. It is very hard for a teen to comprehend the question, what do you want to do every day for the rest of your life? Shoot, many adults struggle with that question. Yet we expect teens who have no comprehension of long term to answer that and spend 2 to 8 years studying and preparing for it. It is no wonder then that 31% of college graduates never work in their field of study. Most adolescents make it through those years and go on to become prosperous adults. But as we'll see in this podcast, some aren't so fortunate. We will cover some cases of children who killed before ever reaching adolescence, but the majority of minor murderers are teenagers. Many mental illnesses that affect adolescents can be diagnosed and treated before the patient reaches the age of 18. All anxiety, depression, and behavioral, such as ADHD, addiction, eating disorders, and so on, can and should be diagnosed and treated in the formative years. If left untreated, they can lead to increasing problems and possibly more serious disorders in adulthood. These must be diagnosed by a mental health professional. Some behavioral disorders, like drug use and addiction and eating disorders, are actually attempts by the patient to self-treat other issues such as depression and anxiety. Personality disorders, on the other hand, cannot be diagnosed prior to age 18. For now, it is still 18, but it may change to 25 now that we know that is when the brain is fully developed. Personality disorders include borderline personality disorder, antisocial disorder, narcissism, psychosis, schizophrenia, psychopathology, sociopathology, and so on. There are 3 components to the development of the personality: genetics, environment, and character. Genetics determine a child's approach to the world, how he or she learns, and behaviors caused by the nervous system. Environment encompasses the people who affect the child's upbringing. High-quality parenting has a profound effect on a child's personality development. How children are taught to deal with problems, issues, likes, and dislikes will shape the personality of the adult they will become. Character, on the other hand, is emotional behavior patterns that the child develops as a result of their environment. Were temper tantrums rewarded or discouraged? Was the child coddled or left to his own devices? Was she taught hard work or entitlement? Was there a balance between the extremes? You've probably heard of the debate between nature versus nurture. Genetics is nature, while environment and character are nurture. Psychologists have debated for centuries about which has a more profound effect on the personality. As we cover these cases, we'll look at all 3 components. We'll also look at the juvenile justice system. Juvenile courts are not considered criminal courts, but rather civil. Juvenile offenders are referred to as offenders or delinquents, not criminals. The juvenile justice laws are vastly different from state to state. In some states, when a juvenile commits a serious act, such as rape or murder, A judge in the juvenile justice system will hear the facts of the case and then determine if that case should be tried in a juvenile court, in which case it's called a delinquent act, or sent to criminal court, in which the case is referred to as a crime. In other states, certain charges are automatically considered crimes and automatically sent to criminal court, where the juvenile will be charged as an adult regardless of the age of the offender. In other cases, it's only automatic if the offender has reached a certain age, such as 10, 13, or 14. One issue that many juvenile judges face when determining whether to hold it in juvenile court or send it to criminal court is the age out statute. Many states have a set age at which each offender in the juvenile detention, otherwise known as juvie, must be released. For instance, in Tennessee, that age is 19. Therefore, cases in which the juvenile judge thinks the severity of the act warrants more time incarceration than the amount of time between the defendant's current age and 19, it is sent to criminal court. If it's heard in juvenile court and the offender is found guilty at age 19, she would be released free and clear and her record would be expunged. In episode 1, we will look at Centoya Brown, who was 16 and a half at the time the act was committed. The juvenile judge had to ask herself, would 2.5 years in juvie be sufficient if Brown was found guilty? It is different in other states. In Michigan, for example, a juvenile judge has 3 options. They can commit the offender to juvie until he's 21, at which time he'll be free and clear. 2, they can sentence them as adults to life without parole. Or 3, they can order a blended sentence in which the offender is sent to juvie until their 21st birthday, at which time the judge will re-examine the case and will either let them go free and clear or will send them to the penitentiary to serve life without parole. One extreme or the other with no other options available. As you can see, the laws vary dramatically from state to state. As we cover cases, we'll also look at the laws in that particular state regarding juvenile justice. I would like for Minor Murderers to be an open dialogue or interactive podcast. I've set up a Facebook discussion group, which you can access by going to facebook.com/mmcwk and then click on the Contact Us button. While you're at facebook.com/mmcwk, go ahead and like that page. You can also comment on the blog posts, which are posted at minormurderers.com, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon at Minor Murderers. You can comment on any of our social media platforms. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so that you don't miss the release of episode 1, Centoya Brown, in a few weeks.